Well, we said there was rain in the air in races 1 and 2. Well, the rain's on the ground now. It has absolutely poured it down here at Anglesey. It's our third MX-5 Super Series race of the weekend. It's going to take place in very inclement conditions. They start this one how they finished race 2, so it's Brian Chandler, Jake Bailey, Ben Short and Josh Jackson at the front of the grid. Our retirements from race 2, Russ Lindsay and Pepe Planeta are at the back. But this is going to be a very treacherous 20 minutes of racing. The red lights, though, go on, and we are going to go racing with, on the inside of row 1, Brian Chandler, and the outside for Jake Bailey. Where is the grip going to be in the wet? It's going to be with Chandler on the inside by the looks of it. He will lead down towards turn number 1. Jake Bailey turning into second place, and look at the spray as they fight their way through. And it is very wet indeed out there. Bailey looking to the outside of the banking. Now, in theory, that should be where the grip is in the wet conditions. The outside line is the place to be. There's contact between the two of them. They're starting off where they left off in race 2 when they were banging into each other over the final few laps. And Chandler hangs on for the time being. Bailey second, side by side for third then between Ben Short and Josh Jackson. You can see there the way that they run right around the outside edge of the corner at Church. That's because where the rubber has been laid down in the dry conditions, that gets really slippery when the water sits on top of it. So actually the best place to drive in the wet is offline, away from all of the rubber, and that's what they're doing up there at Church Corner. They will try to do that, I'd imagine, around most of the lap. There are Simon Orange and Out Livesley together. Simon Orange often goes quite well in the wet, I've noticed this year. We've had a few wet or damp races in 2018. Back through the right-hand elements of the complex they go, and again Orange right around the outside there, wheel to wheel, inches apart, these two, as they turn into Peel, and they almost tangle together there. They're both fighting for the grippiest part of the road. Neither wanted to go in on the tight line there, whereas in the try, of course, normally it's a fight to get to the apex first. Right, on board with Brian Chandler as he drops down the hill now in towards the end of the opening lap. Jake Bailey, who was such a thorn in his side in race 1, is likely to be the same in race 2, you'd have to say. There are Simon Orange and Sam Bailey working their way through as well. And out onto the pit straight once again. So it is Chandler from Bailey from Short, your top 3 at the end of lap 1. And again, none of them getting anywhere near the apex, in particular at the banking, because with there being, well, banking there, the water sort of runs down to the bottom and collects down by the inside curb. So they definitely want to stay away from that. Standing water is not your friend if you're a racing driver. You can see, although the outside looks like the wetter part of the circuit, it's still the grippiest, and it's why it takes a real knack to be a good wet weather driver. Not all drivers can do it. The ones that can will often excel over here in the UK. Up the hill they go again, and Ben Short now looking to the outside of Jake Bailey. Jake Bailey defending for the time being, but Short now has the grippier line. Tries to get the cut back though, that's interesting. And Short, whose car has been sideways quite a lot already this weekend, even more so in the wet, but that's worked for the time being. He gets to the inside, does a bit of a slide job on Jake Bailey, and he will go through, I think, unless Bailey's got the run on the exit of the corner. The two of them wheel to wheel, are they? Yes, they're still side by side down towards the corkscrew, but Short has gone through. Now, the last wet race we had at Silverstone, these two came together in the early stages. Thankfully, they avoided such contact this time around. So, Short into second. What can he do about the race leader then? Ben Short did win a race at Silverstone last time out in the wet, so we know that he's strong. Ryan Chandler, though, renowned for his wet weather prowess as well over the years in Mazda MX-5s, so this will be an interesting matchup between the two of them. Jake Bailey's been pretty decent in all conditions this year. Hence the reason that he's been able to take 4 race victories, but that search for the 5th race victory, he's just come up short in both races so far this weekend. The first race, he missed out on the win by just over a quarter of a second. The second race by 1.7 seconds, but arguably it should have been closer than that because he'd been really pressuring Brian Chandler all race long. Now Chandler ran a bit too wide that time, got on the curb going out of Church Corner, and you can just about see through the gloom that Ben Short had used that to his advantage to start closing in. Meanwhile, Alec Livesley is struggling here. He's trying to get back alongside Simon Orange though, and in the mix as well is Sam Bailey. 3 cars under a blanket going towards the rocket complex. They can barely see each other, let alone outbreak each other. But Livesley up the inside line, he's locked up, he's gone straight on, he takes Orange with him. And Sam Bailey says, thank you very much, chaps, I'll just go past the pair of you, which he does. And Livesley and Orange come out still side by side, despite the little tangle. Livesley on the outside, he's on the curb, he's on the grass. Got Jeremy Crook in there as well. Now, Jeremy Crook and Simon Orange came together in race 1 up at this part of the circuit, well, Rocket, and they're getting in close proximity again now. It's Livesley and Orange this time around, though, who are trading paint. Simon Fleet is in there as well. Again, the two Simons never that far away from each other. They finished, well, Simon Fleet has had a 7th and 8th this weekend, and Simon Orange, guess what, has had a 7th and an 8th, so they've been tied together again. It's actually rare this time. We've got a couple of cars between them, but give it time, they'll get themselves back together again, I'm sure. So up towards turn 1 they go. Fleet it is who's on the move at the moment. There is the other blue car, the pale blue and orange car of Ben Short, who's definitely closed in on Brian Chandler here. So Brian Chandler is going to have to once again get his elbows out. Jake Bailey doesn't seem to have the pace in the wet that he had in the dry, though, so he's dropped back now slightly from these two. But what sort of a slipstream can Ben Short get? You still get that slipstream effect even in the wet, even though there's a bit more resistance against the front of your car with the spray from the car in front. It makes minimal difference. And you can see that Short was definitely closing then. But then picking your braking mark in towards the Rocket chicane is very difficult indeed, even in the dry, let alone in the wet. Simon Fleet here trying to do the same thing to Jeremy Crook that Ben Short is trying to do to the race leader Brian Chandler. Find a way through, but not able to do it here, I don't think. He's not really close enough. Simon Orange still at the head of this group. Just searching out the grip, searching out the line. Where is it best to run? Well, the outside, definitely the quicker way, but of course that also means that you're that bit closer to the edge of the road. So if you do mess up and you do go in a bit too quick, then you're on the grass, and the grass in the wet is like ice. You're going to go straight on into the tyre wall. So it's a fine line that you tread between success and disaster in the wet. And again, that's what makes it such a unique skill. Down through the corkscrew they come again. Jeremy Crook, that is, just in front of Simon Fleet. Simon Fleet looking to try and get, I believe, his first podium of the year. Yes, he's not had a podium yet this year. He's not likely to get it in this race either, it must be said, but he's been searching for it all year long. He's had a couple of top 5s, but not quite been able to get up onto the rostrum yet. Down in towards the hairpin at the banking. And yeah, Fleet's not really close enough to do much about Jeremy Crook at this point of the circuit. If anything, this group of 5 have just spaced themselves out that little bit more. So they turn back through Church, again getting nowhere near the apex there as they turn through the right-hander and back along the school straight, which is anything but straight. We've got these 2 kinks, and again you can see the water collecting there offline. The rain, if anything, is intensifying now, getting worse and worse. And visibility becoming poorer and poorer, track conditions getting poorer and poorer. Standing water is increasing by the lap, so this is going to be a challenging 20 minutes for the Super Series drivers, but we're already a third of the way through the race and no major dramas just yet, which is good news. Back through Peel as they slip and slide their way on now towards the mid-race distance. Jeremy Crook getting away from Simon Fleet now at this stage of the race. Brian Chandler, leader, back out of turn number 1, and well, Ben Short, he's close-ish, but he's only about as close as he has been for a few laps now. It just doesn't look as though he's got anything for Brian Chandler. He can close in on him, and of course the slipstream is helping him a lot with that up the back straight, but he just can't really make the move anywhere decisively, can he? You see the difference in lines there. Short trying the more traditional tight line. I'm not sure that was a good move because he lost a couple of car lengths through Church Corner there, and if you slip out of slipstreaming rays, that's dangerous. You might not be able to get it back. Having said that, Short was able to actually close in on Chandler in the first place, of course. Having got past Jake Bailey, they dropped back a little way, those two, and Short had been able to close back in. Indeed, he's got on the brakes there at the top of the hill. He closes back in again, but with a wet race leading to different lines, and the outside line definitely being the grippiest, that can make overtaking sometimes even hard because there is only really one quick line, and if you go to the inside into a corner, then you have to be prepared to get a bit physical to make the move stick, because you can't just drive up the inside and drive on by because you won't have the grip on the exit of the corner. So it's a unique form of racing. Some people think that wet racing makes it easier to overtake, but that's not always the case, especially on a narrow circuit like this one. And there is only really the one line that they're all trying to use, and it's possible to run the same sort of speed as the cars, but not necessarily being able to get past them. You have to be significantly quicker than them, and even then, it's not the work of a moment. So, out of turn one, in towards the second half of the race they go now. Brian Chandler with this ever-present threat from Ben Short, but not a threat that's really led to a genuine opportunity to get past yet for them. Into Church they will go again, and once again you see that I think the thought process there for Ben Short is that it's a bit drier on the inside, but he runs wide onto the dirt coming out of Church, and that's going to really lose him momentum up the hill. Well, that might have just done it, unfortunately, for Ben Short. I don't think he's going to have much chance of catching Brian Chandler anytime soon. Don't count him out yet, though. We've seen that he's got the pace, but that was a definite moment, and the more moments like that you have, then the more inclined you might be to just take it a bit easier, not push the boundaries too hard. Second place is still a good result, but of course, with no championship points to think about, in a way, you may as well just push and go for it. The last thing you want to do is damage your car. Liz Walton there going a lap down, just struggling in the conditions slightly, but they are pretty filthy conditions out there at the moment, and it is the more experienced drivers who are making their way to the front now. As indeed really has been the case all weekend long, though. And Brian Chandler, well, it'd be good to see him stick around in Mazda MX-5 racing, not just running the cars but driving them, because when he does get behind the wheel he always has a good chance of winning. Anglesey is a circuit that he's had success at before, and he's had success this weekend with 2 race wins. Can he get the hat-trick? It's been done twice before this year, both times by Josh Jackson. Josh, ironically, has been the anonymous man this weekend, hasn't he? 2 4th place finishes. He's running in 4th at the moment as well. And well, Josh Jackson, whatever the problem has been this weekend, he's just not had the pace. He's not had the pace that he's had at previous rounds this year, where he's been in dominant fashion. And here in Anglesey, it's just not quite clicked for him. He'll be looking to try and improve next time out, though. And, with the pace that he showed earlier on in the year, you wouldn't bet against him being able to get a few good results as the season goes on. Back on board with Brian Chandler here. He works his way up towards Rocket. Now there is Sam Bailey, and he is ahead of Josh Jackson now. So Josh Jackson's actually down to 5th position now. So Josh's weekend going from bad to worse. Sam Bailey's, though, improving as the weather deteriorates. Ironically, Sam obviously enjoying the conditions pretty nicely here. There are, incidentally, 6 more races left in the inaugural Mazda MX-5 Super Series, the 15th and 16th of September at Rockingham, and the 20th and 21st at Donington Park as part of BRSCC's ever-exciting finals weekend where championships are decided. This will not be a championship that's decided because they don't score points in the Super Series, but they'll still be there to put on a show. And Donington Park, always a circuit that produces good racing, and also always a circuit that tends to bring out a decent entry. Now, there were yellow flags there, because that's Jake Bailey. Jake Bailey has had a moment running in 3rd place, and he's spun at the final corner. So Jake Bailey, I'm not quite sure what's gone on there, whether there's been contact with another car or whether that was self-inflicted, but Jake Bailey has thrown away a podium result. Now that promotes his father, Sam, into a top 3 position now, so it's all change at the front of the field. Josh Jackson up into 4th again now, his position that he's finished in the first 2 races. And this man, Simon Orange, is now 5th. So, drama for Jake Bailey. Good news for everyone behind him, though, because they've been able to get into place now. Did Jake manage to rejoin? I don't think he did. So, Jake Bailey possibly looking at a retirement here, and not for the first time this year, unfortunately. For Jake, he's had a couple of issues earlier on in the season. Of course, had that non-finish at double non-finish at Alton Park, where his season really was derailed. So, Jake Bailey, yeah, I don't believe that he's been able to get going again. He's not, although he's not in that little cut through anymore, so he might have been able to rejoin. Anyway, Brian Chandler leading the way, and look at the gap that he's pulled now. There's no one else in sight. So Ben Short has dropped about 10 seconds back now, so he must have had another moment somewhere. Either that or he's just really decided to take it easy. There is Simon Orange splashing his way up the hill now. He's going off in chase of Josh Jackson. And at the moment, he's lapping quicker than him. So too, Alec Livesley behind. He's bringing him with him. And actually, Jeremy Crook and Simon Fleet are still not far behind them either. So these four cars all started to close in on Josh Jackson for fourth place. So Jackson could yet lose more places. Up through Peel again. And back down the hill towards the end of yet another lap in filthy conditions here at Anglesey. We've been getting 15 laps in the dry-ish races, but this one very much full wet conditions. We may just get the 14 in this time. Let's see. So Alec Livesley turning his way now through the final corner, chasing down Simon Orange. There are decidedly less people watching on from the pit wall as well in this race. I think a lot of friends and family have decided to show their support from afar, either in the pit garages or in the awning or the motorhomes on the paddock, somewhere warm and dry. And I can't say I blame them really. The same luxury though cannot be afforded by the drivers. Of course, these are all open top cars. Getting rather wet in the cars at the moment. Not a particularly pleasant experience driving an open cockpit car in these sort of conditions, but it's something that racing drivers have to deal with on a fairly regular basis over here in the UK. Especially, it has to be said, this corner of the UK. Anglesey though, the Anglesey circuit on a dry sunny day is one of the most spectacular circuits to be at, and the views across the Irish Sea and off towards Snowdonia are second to none, quite frankly, in British motorsport. But in the wet, it's quite a grim place to be, it has to be said. But the racing is always interesting, and the circuit is very challenging to drivers. And it still offers spectacular views, just not quite as warm as it could be. Anyway, Simon Orange working his way back out of the final corner. He's rather enjoying the conditions here at Anglesey. He looks like he's lapping quicker than Josh Jackson again. Yes, he is. He's quicker than the fourth place man once more. He's also pulling away from Alec Livesley and Jeremy Crook behind him, who themselves are getting themselves closer together now. So Josh Jackson might start to feel some pressure in the final couple of laps here from Simon Orange. Takes again that ultra wide line through the banking, tries to close in the slipstream. Down towards Church Corner again. Through the quick right-hander they will go. There's Brian Chandler. We're on board with him again. The car behind is not Ben Short. That is a back marker. I think that was Pepe Planeta. Here, though, is the fight for fourth, and Josh Jackson has now been reeled in by Simon Orange, so Simon Orange could be about to make his move here and move up ahead of the man who's won 9 races this year. This will really please Simon Orange if he can make this one stick. We've said that Simon's been improving as the year's gone on, but Josh Jackson has just really been struggling here in the slightly iffy conditions at Anglesey. Simon Orange, on the other hand, though, is relishing them. Look, he always gets the inside out of the hairpin, but this is the problem that I said earlier on. Just because Simon Orange is quicker than Josh Jackson is in no way a guarantee that he'll be able to find a way through, because to get past, you have to go onto the more slippery line. Either that or force a mistake out of the driver in front, which possibly is going to be the better of the two options here for Simon Orange. They drop down into the corkscrew. He's taking a nice wide line there through the middle part of the corkscrew to try and do the same again into the final turn, and then maybe get the run along the pit straight, which he almost gets. He does carry more speed than Jackson there. He gets over the curb as well, but now Simon's on the inside line. This is not the grippiest part of the track to be on. Wheel to wheel through turn 1. Look at the difference in lines there, but yep, Jackson's able to use the grip on the outside of the road to hold on to the lead. Hold on to fourth place, excuse me. But now Simon Orange has the grippier side of the road at the hairpin, and he might be able to go through. Has he got his nose in front? He has. Has he got his whole car in front? Not yet, but he might do by the time they get down towards Church Corner. Yes, he does. So Simon Orange moves ahead of 9-time winner Josh Jackson and takes the position away. Brilliant racing there from Simon Orange, who now will be trying to use the clear air to pull away from Jackson. He's not going to be able to catch Sam Bailey up the road, I don't think. He's about 3 seconds further ahead. You can see him just at the top of the hill. But nonetheless, Simon Orange will be really happy with that. You can see that he had to work at it for a lap or two, but eventually got himself on the grippier side of the road, and through he went. Fantastic stuff. So Simon Orange then into fourth. Now, could Jackson come under pressure from Alec Livesley? Possibly. Although Alec is just a second or so back at this stage. Not far behind him is Jeremy Crook. And then not far behind him even is Simon Fleet. Leader, by the way, has just gone through onto what should be his final lap of the race, I think. So Simon Orange coming through to start his final lap as well. Ryan Chandler, I'm not sure whereabouts on the lap he is. Yes, there he is. He is on the final lap. And, well, the first 2 races were very tight indeed. This one was in the early stages, but really, as the race has gone on, Brian Chandler has stamped his authority on this one. And it looks as though he's going to come home a triple race winner here at the Anglesey Coastal Circuit, and in all sorts of conditions as well. We had the pretty much bone dry conditions in race 1. Race 2 was a bit damp in places, but mostly okay. And now in the full wet conditions, Brian Chandler's going to put in his most dominant performance so far. Let's hope that Brian is tempted back out of semi-retirement once or twice more for the rest of the season. We know that this is not his usual car, but it would be nice if he could get into a car and get out on the grid, because we've really enjoyed having him here. He brought something extra to the series. It's always good to have another really good driver in there as a benchmark to some of the less experienced drivers, someone for them to chase after. And they've chased him hard this weekend, but in race number 3, it is a dominant victory for Brian Chandler. He sees the checkered flag first. In the end, over 13 seconds ahead of Ben Short in second. Sam Bailey gets a 4th podium of the year, ahead of Simon Orange and Josh Jackson. Then it's Alec Livesley, Jeremy Crook, Simon Fleet, Matt Pickford, and rounding out the top 10, Ray Worley. Joseph Marshall-Burks, Pepe Planeta and Liz Walton are the final finishers. Jake Bailey a non-finisher, whilst Russ Lindsay didn't start.
Brian, hat-trick, 3 out of 3.
3 out of 3.
It doesn't get better than that this weekend.
Yeah, boys at BC Cars Motorsport done awesomely. The car was a dream on that one, actually. It was a bit of fun. It was nice to have me and Ben back. Obviously, me and Ben go back way long time in the Mazdas, so I thought we was going to have a proper ding-dong out there. But yeah, I pulled away, and it was all good. I saw that he helped himself to a bit of grass, so yeah, unfortunately that just left me to circulate and have a bit of a giggle. So yeah, great day.